Today, my daughter visited me, but it wasn't a good visit for either of us. I don't think she left feeling happy. She was kind and friendly, but too much time has passed, and the pain runs deep. I can't simply accept her kindness without careful thought. So, why haven't I talked to her in 5 years until now, if she's such a wonderful person? It all started with something her mother did. I clearly remember the last words I said to Megan 5 years ago at her mother's funeral. It was a highly emotional day. I approached Megan at the grave and bitterly told her she meant nothing to me, just like her mother. I said the same harsh words to my son Stuart, in front of our shocked family and friends. Their stunned reactions will haunt me forever. That moment of pain will stay with me forever. That day shattered our family losing their mother, and then me leaving with our youngest daughter, Faye. On our 25th wedding anniversary, I discovered Connie's affair. It was a beautiful day in June, full of celebrations with our family and friends. But as we renewed our vows, I realized our children weren't there beside us. I only saw Connie, the woman I love. Our family felt broken, and I walked away from everything. The police officer handling the accident report turned out to be Greg, who had grown taller than me and looked authoritative in his uniform. Greg and Stuart had been childhood friends, playing on many sports teams together. I felt proud seeing him grown up, almost like my own kids. After sorting out the paperwork, we hung around chatting. At the end, something Greg said gave me an idea. "Nice seeing you again, Mr. Jenkins," Greg said, shaking my hand. "I've got to get back to the station. Sorry I missed your anniversary party. My folks said it was fun." We shook hands, and I remembered him from our Little League days trying to steal second base. He'd always get caught back then, but now he was a man I admired. Greg then added with a smirk, "Tell Mrs. Jenkins to watch those stop signs next time. I might not go easy on her." I must have looked puzzled because Greg seemed embarrassed. "Oops, didn't mean to mention that," he said awkwardly. Trying to lighten the mood, I reassured him. "No worries, Greg. Connie sometimes hides tickets from me, thinking I'll get mad and take away her driving. I won't, but it's our little game." To keep things light at dinner, I asked, "So, what exactly did you ticket her for? Might tease her about it." Greg quickly backtracked. "Sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. It was nothing serious. I don't want anyone in trouble." I smiled to reassure him. No harm done. No one's in trouble. Just some friendly teasing. "Tell me what happened." "Well, it happened a couple of weeks ago, on Saturday the 31st, I think. Your wife pulled out of the Holiday Inn parking lot onto Route 40 without stopping at the stop sign. She didn't hit anyone or cause a problem with traffic, but she drove off quickly enough that I had to pull her over and remind her to slow down. Technically, I could have given her a ticket for not stopping, but since no harm was done, I let her off with a warning. It wasn't a big deal." "Yeah, Greg, you did the right thing. I'll talk to her about being more careful and maybe tease her a bit about it. Thanks for telling me. Good to see you again." After unloading the chairs and tables, I sat in my truck thinking about my conversation with Greg. 2 weeks ago, on the 31st, I was at my dad's helping with chores he couldn't manage alone anymore. It was also 2 weeks after Megan's wedding. That Saturday, I spent the day with Dad, taking him to look at an adult living facility. He wasn't interested, but I wanted to try. I was with him all day Saturday and got home around 9 on Sunday evening. I didn't notice anything unusual, and Connie didn't mention getting a ticket from Greg. She said she had a quiet day at home catching up on reading. I thought Greg must have remembered things wrong because Connie wouldn't lie to me. So I dismissed it as something odd and unexplained. About a month after our big anniversary party, my sister called to say she found Dad on his kitchen floor during her visit. He had fallen that morning and couldn't get back into his wheelchair alone. She said he wasn't hurt, just embarrassed. I immediately made plans to stay with him on Saturday, and tried to convince him to move somewhere smaller, where he could get more help. Maybe this time he'd be scared enough to listen. But he's stubborn. Since Stuart and Faye were home for the summer, I persuaded them to come with me. I played the guilt card. You guys haven't seen Grandpa in a while, and he won't be around forever. They agreed. Connie said she wanted a quiet day to finish her book. During the hour-long drive, Stuart told me about a girl he liked in his philosophy class, and Faye said she wanted to focus on college without having a boyfriend right now. We had a nice conversation about their thoughts, which naturally led me to tell once again how their mom and I met and fell in love. Dad was more lively than usual when the kids hugged him and sat down to listen to his old stories. We had brunch, talked, and enjoyed the morning. Around noon, he fell asleep in his chair, and we all went our separate ways to let him rest. Hey, you guys stay here and watch Grandpa. I'll be back soon. I want to go get something to take down that old dead tree in the backyard. Stuart and Faye stayed in the living room watching TV, keeping an eye on Grandpa. Meanwhile, I planned to drive home to get my chainsaw, ropes, and everything else I needed to remove the tree. I'm not sure why, but I took the interstate exit onto Route 40. At the bottom of the hill, I saw the entrance to the Holiday Inn across the road, and without thinking, I turned into the motel parking lot. As I stopped and looked around, I noticed the stop sign at the bottom of the hill that Connie missed. It was easy to see how anyone could miss it, including myself. About to leave the parking lot, something caught my eye, a car that shouldn't have been there. It was Connie's car. I stopped and double-checked to make sure I wasn't mistaken. There are plenty of silver Toyota Camrys, but only one with her unique license plate, Kunwum. I got out and looked inside. Everything seemed normal, and the doors were locked. I couldn't think of any reason why she'd be at the Holiday Inn when she said she wanted to relax with her book. I decided to call home to see if she knew where her car was. I called the house and got the answering machine, but when I called her cell phone, she answered. Hi honey, what's up? She sounded cheerful. I don't know why, but I lied, which I've never done before. Oh, nothing, I said. I was at the grocery store picking up some things for Dad and thought I'd give you a call. I tried calling home, and when you didn't answer, I tried your cell. Where are you? I'm at the mall, she said. I finished my book and decided to do a little shopping. You don't mind, do you? I thought to myself, wow, she just lied to me. Or at least I think she did. Just don't spend the kids' college money. What time will you be home? She asked. Probably around 6, I replied. Do you want me to make dinner? No, I'm not feeling too good. I might stay at Dad's tonight and send the kids home. I'll let you know, I said. Okay, just call me when you decide, she said sadly. Oh, did you drive to the mall alone? I asked, hoping for the truth. Yeah, I drove myself. Just got here a few minutes ago. Why? Just wondering. Well, I've got to go. Have a good time and watch out for Greg when you leave the Holiday Inn, I said before hanging up. I waited, unsure of what to expect. Then I heard a muffled scream from the direction of the hotel. Looking around, I saw nothing unusual, especially no source for the scream. I sat on the hood of Connie's Camry, keeping watch. A little while later, a police car pulled up and Greg got out. Hi, Mr. Jenkins, did you call 911? He asked. No, Greg, I didn't. Someone called about a car break-in, I said. I better check with the manager inside, Greg replied. Greg, can you do me a favor? I asked. Sure, anything. When you go inside, can you see if Mrs. Jenkins is there and who she's with? I'll wait here. Okay, wait. Oh no, I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins, Greg said, looking flustered. I'll be back soon. I'll find out what's happening and come talk to you. Really sorry. He went back to his car and drove towards the entrance. I waited nervously, but nothing happened for what felt like a long time. Finally, in the distance, I heard a siren wailing. It got louder as it came closer, and stopped when it reached the motel entrance. Paramedics came out and soon loaded someone into the ambulance. Greg drove over to me with a serious look on his face. "I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins. There was an incident inside. Your wife was taken to the county hospital by ambulance. She tried to run through a sliding glass door. Thankfully, it didn't break, but she's badly bruised with a cut over her eye, and she's very upset." The man who was with her left when the ambulance arrived. I have his information and what he said. I can't share it now, but you can come to the station tomorrow and request it under the Freedom of Information Act. I'm really sorry about this. You and Mrs. Jenkins mean a lot to me. He offered his hand to shake mine, but I couldn't respond. Tears started flowing only after he left. Somehow, I managed to drive back to Dad's house, standing in the driveway feeling lost. "What's wrong?" Connie asked. I was too overwhelmed to speak. She became more concerned until I finally broke down in tears in front of her. I had never cried in front of my children before. Seeing their father so upset, Faye started crying too. When Stuart joined us crying, I told them their mother was in the hospital and they needed to go to her. I didn't explain what had just happened. But in moments, they were in the car and ready to go. I gave Stuart the keys and said I wouldn't go with them. "I'll stay here tonight." They looked at me with concern, but left anyway. I made sure Dad was okay before I fell on the couch with a racing heart. I stared at the floor and cried a lot. Dad wheeled over and sat next to me. "What's on your mind, Mark? What's bothering you?" I couldn't talk to my father about personal things. He's old-fashioned and always hid his feelings. I guess I was like him. When I had problems growing up, he just said, "Act like a man and things will be fine." I thought he'd say that this time, so I stayed silent. But he surprised me. "Let me tell you a story about your mother and me. Something I've never told you or your sister before. Right after you were born, I got into trouble at work. Your mom wanted an expensive red dress, and I didn't have the money to buy it for her. So I stole a tool from work and sold it. I got caught. Eventually, I paid back what I took, but I still got fired and had to deal with the police. I was put on probation for a year. That part was easier. Your mom was angrier with me than she'd ever been before. She was probably more disappointed in me than ever before. It really hurt our marriage. She kept her distance and was cold to me for a long time. Then one day, she came home and mentioned she might have found a job for me near where she worked. She told me to go there the next morning for an interview. Then she hugged me, looked me in the eyes, and said she forgave me. Son, she forgave me for almost ruining our marriage. She put her hurt aside and welcomed me back into her heart. From that day until she passed away, I did everything to make her proud. Her love made me a better man. Yes, she was hurt for a while, but she was more forgiving than I was. And we moved past it. Mark, I'm not sure what's going on with you, but it sounds like you're dealing with something similar to what I went through. Maybe you need forgiveness, or maybe you need to forgive someone like your mom did. But maybe whatever happened can't be forgiven. Whatever it is, deep down, I believe you'll make the right choices. I pray everything works out for you. I might not say it often, but I'm very proud of the man you've become, and I love you very much." The phone rang during the night, but I didn't answer it. My cell phone rang too, and I heard both because I couldn't sleep. I spent the weekend with Dad and talked to Megan and Stuart on the phone. I avoided talking to Connie when they asked. I wasn't ready for her to see or hear me in the state I was in. Monday morning, I called work and told them I had a family issue and needed a few days off. I didn't know all the details of what she did. I think my children knew more than I did. But one thing was clear. I couldn't handle knowing more. "Hi, Mark." Her familiar voice broke my thoughts and brought up a whirlwind of emotions again. Without turning, I quietly replied, "Hi, Connie." I stayed still, watching as she pulled a chair up in front of me. "I'm sorry, Mark," she said. looking down at her hands. They had always been beautiful and strong, but now one was bruised and the other had a large bandage. When I finally looked at her face, I saw bandages across her nose, holding the broken bones together. A big gauze patch covered one eye, hiding the stitches underneath. The other eye was surrounded by a dark bruise that looked black and orange. She looked like a mess, as Faye would say. She used to be so beautiful, and now she's so damaged. I couldn't tell if my opinion of her appearance was clouded by my broken heart, or if she truly looked that way. Mark, I came here to apologize. I know I'm sorry isn't enough to fix things, but it's all I have, she continued. Megan drove me here because I'm still too upset to drive. I needed to see you, talk to you, and make you understand what I did to you, to us. Mark, I messed up. It's my fault, not yours. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't deserve any of this. As much as I hurt you, I feel the same pain, maybe even more because I caused it. The pain I'm feeling is my own fault, and it might have ruined something that means more to me than anything else. Mark, I want to explain what happened, but maybe. No, I don't want to hear anything from you. Knowing everything now is tearing me apart inside. If I hear more, it might destroy me. Please, just don't say anything. But Mark, if you understand what happened, maybe there's a chance you could forgive me. I don't want to lose you. I love you. And you need to understand why I was weak and did what I did. It all started. No, damn it. I told you I don't want to hear it. But Mark, you have to hear me out. It's the only way we can move past this. The only way we can heal and be a family again. Please, Mark, just listen. I said no. I stood up and walked away, leaving her crying with her bruised hands in her lap. Dad, please listen to her, Megan pleaded as she followed me to the kitchen. She needs you to hear her out and forgive her. She wants to explain what happened and apologize so we can move forward. I turned and glared at my eldest daughter, releasing words that set me on a path that would lead to my own downfall. Megan, if you think listening to her story will fix things between us, you're even more naive than she is. If she needs to clear her conscience, she can write it in a letter and send it to me. I can't sit here and listen to her excuses about why she threw away our 25-year marriage and shattered me in the process. I can't be around her right now. I couldn't find it in myself to forgive her. I got into my car and drove off without knowing where I was going or if I'd come back. I didn't cry much during the drive. Most of my tears were shed on Dad's patio. Right then, all I needed was to get away and clear my head. When I returned to Dad's the next day, Faye greeted me at the door with a smile and a hug. That smile meant everything to me in that moment. It reminded me that happiness could still exist, even in the midst of all the pain. It gave me hope that maybe someday I could find happiness again. What I wasn't sure about was whether my decision would bring smiles to others. Dad was happy to see me too. During dinner, I explained my plans to Dad and Faye. Dad, I've decided to move in here with you for a while. I need some distance from everything, and you could use the help with cooking and cleaning. And honestly, Dad, I've had enough of your cooking to know you could use someone who can cook more than just bacon and eggs. Faye, could you help me gather some things from home? I can't go back while Mom's there, and I need some items for work and here. You can let everyone know that I'll be staying here until I figure out a more permanent solution. Just say Mom and I have separated for now. Keep it short, no details. Sure, Dad. I'll go back tonight and get what you need. Just give me a list. Should I tell Mom anything? Faye asked. Just let her know I'll be living here and not to call me. When I'm ready, I'll reach out to her. I handed Faye the list and spent the evening discussing our new living arrangements with Dad. From the look on his face, he was glad to have me back, but troubled by the circumstances. He didn't bring up Connie or the recent events. We even did something we hadn't done in years. We played checkers. He won, of course. When Faye came back with our stuff, I was surprised to see her car packed so full. I brought my stuff too, she said firmly. I'll take the guest bedroom and stay here until school starts again. She looked determined as she helped unload our things. Later that night, I asked her what had happened. Faye looked upset as she started talking. Can you believe what my sister said? She actually thinks you're acting childish, and that you should come home and make up with Mom. And Stuart was just as bad. He basically said that everyone cheats on their loved ones at some point in life. It's not a big deal, he said. He even suggested you forgive Mom and find yourself a girlfriend on the side. Can you believe those two jerks? Now, Faye, Dad, I'm not in the mood to hear it. You didn't do anything wrong. Yet everyone thinks you're the bad guy sitting here at Grandpa's house. Mom's the one who messed up. She doesn't deserve forgiveness. That's why I'm here. Faye was furious. I knew once she made up her mind like this, there was no changing it. So I sat quietly and let her anger run its course. For the next 2 months, I tried to keep things normal in my life. I went to work every day, helped around the house, and even taught Faye how to make a great vegetable lasagna. Every few days, Megan or Stuart would call me, asking when I was coming home. In my mind, I could imagine Connie listening in, waiting for my answer. I told them I was staying with Dad and didn't want to hear anything about Connie or talk to her. A few times, they tried to say something anyway, but I just hung up on them. One day, Stuart came to the door and said he needed to talk to me. We went out to the backyard and sat on the patio, so he could tell me what was on his mind. Dad, you need to come back home now. It's been 2 months, and Mom's worse than ever. I have to go back to school soon, and I can't leave Megan alone to take care of Mom. We're worried about what Mom might do when none of us are there. She cries all the time, doesn't sleep, and hardly eats. She's lost a lot of weight. Some of your friends have visited, and they're just as concerned as we are. She's not doing anything but sitting at home feeling sorry for herself. Dad, I think you've punished her enough. You need to get over your grudge and come home. She's sorry, you're hurt, and she's hurting too. It's time to move on and come back. I sat there, looking at my son. This was the same guy I coached in baseball and soccer, and helped earn his Eagle Scout badge in Boy Scouts. But he's different now. His values have changed somewhere along the way. He thinks what his mother did is acceptable, and if it's okay for her, then it sets a bad example that it's okay for him too. I've always taught my kids that promises are important and should be taken seriously. I've tried to teach him good moral values through both my words and actions. Now I felt Stuart was completely wrong. Stuart, you're a man now. So I can talk straight with you, man to man. Get out of my house. How dare you come here and accuse me of being immature? I didn't mess up. If you're okay with what your mother did, then you've changed, and not for the better. Go home and take care of your mother. I'll be here until I decide otherwise. Now leave before I make you leave. I got up and went inside. A few minutes later, I heard his car drive away. Faye went back to school in late August. I didn't hear from Megan or Stuart, so I figured Stuart had gone back to school and Megan was busy balancing her new husband and Connie. They didn't bother calling me. It was just Dad and me now. In mid-September, I received a letter from Connie. I started reading it, but couldn't finish. I had told Megan that if Connie wanted to clear her conscience, she should write it all down and send it to me. Now that I had the letter, I couldn't bring myself to read it. The pain was still too fresh. I avoided thinking about it and tried to carry on with my life as best as I could. Faye called every few days to check on both me and Dad. She mentioned she had talked to Megan and Stuart, and they were doing the same for their mom. Faye planned to visit for my birthday at the end of October and hoped I would have made a decision about our future by then. Being stuck in limbo wasn't helping anyone. I assured her we'd discuss things once I made up my mind. On October 30th, I turned 50, a significant milestone. Faye arrived in the morning and announced plans to take Dad and me out for a big Italian dinner to celebrate. She teased me about finally tasting real lasagna, a playful jab at my cooking skills. I'm sure that was the first smile I had in months. We returned from dinner late, and I helped Dad settle into bed before joining Faye in the living room. I gave her a beer, and we sat down to talk. "So Dad, have you decided what you're going to do?" Faye always liked to be direct. With a heavy sigh, I started explaining. "I've realized I don't have all the answers, especially why she did what she did. Avoiding her and refusing to talk won't solve anything. I finally read her letter, but I'm not sure I believe everything she wrote. It might be true, but it seems too unbelievable. And since it went on for so long, I doubt we can make things right. But I need to sit down with her, hear her out, and tell her how I feel. If I can't trust her, divorce might be our only choice. I've been just as unhappy without her as you say she's been without me. I'm ready to move forward, whatever that means for us." "Tomorrow I'll call her." Faye's cell phone rang and interrupted me. Though I wasn't finished, I let her take the call. "It's Megan," she said, looking at the phone screen. "I'll go outside to talk." She left and came back a few minutes later, looking shocked and pale. Her eyes were wide, and she glanced around the room before collapsing into my arms, crying uncontrollably. She sobbed into my shoulder as I held her tightly, waiting for her to calm down. After a few minutes, she pulled back, wiped her tears, and looked at me directly. "Dad, Mom passed away. Megan found her in the bathtub tonight. It looks like she took all her sleeping pills." Megan didn't say much more. The biggest unresolved issue was my role in Connie taking those sleeping pills. I didn't force them on her, but my refusal to talk had made her emotional state worse. I was hurt and wanted her to feel the pain I felt. I loved her deeply, and her betrayal hurt me deeply. I never wanted her to die. I just wanted her to understand how much pain I was in. Maybe she did understand and couldn't handle it. Now I'll never be sure. All I know is that her unfaithfulness destroyed our marriage, and my actions might have pushed her too far. We both made mistakes. May God forgive both of us. Tomorrow is Connie's funeral, my last chance to say goodbye to her. I have to stay strong, face our friends and family, and bid her farewell without breaking down. As I turned, the front door slammed, and Megan walked towards me from the back door. She whispered, "Are you okay?" I whispered back, sitting across from her in a lawn chair. "No, not really." We sat quietly, gathering our thoughts, listening to the rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Megan glanced at me and said, "You know, none of this would have happened if you had just come home and forgiven her. She made a mistake. I'm sure you've made mistakes that she forgave you for. She couldn't go on without you. Your pride caused this." I sat there in shock. My own daughter was blaming me for my wife's death. No matter how many times I said or thought it, I hadn't done anything wrong. I wasn't the one having an affair. I didn't deceive our friends and family for 6 months. I didn't take sleeping pills to ease my guilt. "Dad, tomorrow is going to be tough," Megan continued. "Everyone's coming back here after the funeral, and there will be a lot of people. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to be here if you don't want to. Stuart and Mom's friends are helping with everything, so you don't need to worry." Now Megan didn't even want me at the gathering after the funeral. What was happening? Maybe I was too upset and stressed to understand her. One thing was clear. I didn't want to argue with my daughter on the night before her mother's funeral. I stood up, went inside the house, and down to the family room where I'd been sleeping. I gathered up all my bedding and put it in the laundry basket, then got dressed in my suit and tie. Downstairs, the kids were already dressed and waiting in the living room. Dad looked tired. I kissed Faye on the forehead, took her hand, and we walked out to the waiting limousine. Faye held onto my hand the whole time. She didn't say anything to anyone or to me, but sat quietly with her head down. When we got to the funeral home, many friends were standing in the entrance. As we walked in, People moved aside for us, and we walked towards the room where the viewing was. Everyone was looking at me, but as I passed our friends and neighbors, something seemed strange. Instead of sympathy, many of them had looks of disapproval or even anger on their faces. When I nodded to a few, they quickly turned away to talk to others. My boss from work shook my hand and said he was sorry for my loss. But the people around him had the same strange hostile expressions. He was the only one who spoke to me. The kids were getting kind looks from those I had already passed. I was confused. I hadn't been to many funerals. The only one I was deeply involved in was my mother's, and this was nothing like hers. Faye walked with me up to the casket, and we knelt down to say our final goodbyes. Soft organ music played in the background, but I could still hear whispers from the crowd behind us. In my silent prayer, I caught fragments of their murmurs. Unforgiving jerk. Abandoned her. He caused this hypocrite. Son of a witch, you ended her. Faye gripped my hand tightly, sharing the pain from the harsh words we both heard. The funeral was moving, with a touching hymn that Connie loved, not the usual funeral music. Surprisingly, Connie's friend didn't acknowledge me or Faye after talking with Megan and Stuart. Several friends spoke, and Megan concluded with a plea for mercy and forgiveness, comparing it to how Jesus forgave those who hurt him. It was quiet and somber at the graveside where we listened to the preacher's final words. At the end of the service, each of us placed a red rose on Connie's coffin. I went first, followed by Faye, then Megan and Stuart. Dad's friend wheeled him past the coffin too. Overcome with emotion before leaving, I confronted Megan and Stuart. I bitterly told them they were dead to me because of their actions, spreading lies and portraying me badly. I said this in front of everyone and left with Faye telling the limo driver to leave quickly, leaving Megan and Stuart standing by the roadside. Only a few people, including my boss and his wife, and 2 neighbors, attended the gathering that Megan and Stuart supported each other at her place. Later, Faye explained that many believed I had wronged Connie, leading to her death, and now saw me as responsible. Faye returned to school, leaving me feeling alone. Her visits during breaks were the bright spots in my lonely days. Megan was busy with her in-laws, and Stuart was away at school or elsewhere during his breaks. I focused on work to cope with my grief, often waking up at night haunted by memories of my late wife, Connie, and her affair with John Jablonski, a former neighbor who had even come to our 25th anniversary. With time, the pain lessened somewhat. Megan named her children Connie and Chance, but I haven't met them. Stuart married a college girlfriend, but followed his mother's path by cheating and later divorced. He moved to California, and I lost touch with him after the funeral. Faye keeps me updated on their lives, reminding me that despite everything, they are still my children. At work, my boss became my main support, giving me space when I needed it, but also pushing me to excel, which led to a promotion to senior manager in Florida. I moved to Orlando, sold my old house, and settled into a new life, ensuring my dog, Bo, adjusted well by getting him a companion. Now, we're all doing well in our new home. I lost most of my friends from Maryland, with only a few keeping in touch, and none inviting me out. After Dad passed away a year after Connie, it was just me and Faye, who graduated at the top of her class and landed a good job in Florida. She's staying with me for now, and I'm not eager for her to move out. It's been 5 tough years. I've lost nearly everything except Faye. To avoid feeling lonely with just my dogs, I got back into writing, a hobby I've had for a long time. I used to write mostly business reports, but recently I've been crafting short stories again, and even sold a few. One weekend, an idea for a story turned into a manuscript about a difficult time in my life. It was hard to revisit those painful memories, but writing about them was healing. I finished a draft, but kept it private, stored away in my den. To improve my writing skills, I joined a creative writing class at the local community college. Most of the students were younger and less experienced, but I found 2 older classmates who became friends. Morris was writing about his family's history during the Civil War, and Alicia, a widow and mother of 5, had moved to Florida for a fresh start and was exploring new interests through college courses. As Alicia and I talked more, we discovered we had a lot in common. Not having dated in nearly 3 decades, I paid close attention to Alicia when we talked. I let her speak and listened carefully, knowing there might be a quiz later. One day, after she'd been doing most of the talking, she asked about my background and why I was alone in Central Florida taking a writing course. I gave her a brief version of my story, hoping to shift the focus back to her, but she was curious and kept asking questions. Eventually, I invited her to dinner at my place the next Saturday, saying if she wanted to know more about me, she'd have to come over. Her response was a warm and beautiful smile. She said, "Yes, I'd love to." Dinner was wonderful, I told Alicia as we walked out to the patio to enjoy the night breeze under my palm trees. Not many men can make vegetable lasagna, let alone as good as that. What other surprises do you have? I think I know most everything about you, she replied teasingly. You manage a distribution center for Folks Industries in Eastside. Your daughter Faye lives with you. Your wife passed away just over 5 years ago. You have 2 other kids, and I've met your golden retrievers, Bo and Luke. That's pretty much you in a nutshell. You're kind of boring, really, nothing too exciting. Well, you did promise to tell me your story if I came to dinner, Alicia teased back. So spill the beans. I'm eager to hear all the exciting details. Instead of saying anything, I went inside. When I came back, I had a box with me containing my novel, which tells the story of the most important events in my life. I've been writing for years and even sold a couple of short stories to the local literary magazine. My computer is full of stories, some based on my life and others straight from my imagination. Before I joined the creative writing class, I wrote something that I'm not sure what to do with. It's a sad story about my family and me, all packed into this box. Writing it helped me deal with the pain after my wife passed away and my family fell apart. I've never shown this to anyone, but I'd like your opinion on it. I think it might only be good for propping open doors on windy nights, but I really value the opinion of someone whose writing I admire. Alicia looked at me with admiration in her eyes. I'd love to read your book. What's it called? I call it Fairweather Friends. Wow, it's heavy, she said as she took it from my hand. 987 pages in total. I want you to tell me what you think. Be honest, even if it's harsh. But I need someone else's perspective. I don't want to show it to my daughter because it would bring back too many painful memories for her. I don't want to hurt her. Mark, I'd be honored to read your story and give you my opinion. One thing I forgot to mention. I'm very opinionated. I tell it like it is and let the chips fall where they may, or however that old saying goes. I'll start reading it tomorrow. We spent the evening discussing our writing class, nightlife in Florida for people our age, and sharing our opinions on our favorite movies. It was a pleasant evening, and for once the Florida weather was nice. When I walked her to her car, she gave me a little kiss on the cheek. I felt like a teenager again as I cleaned up after our small dinner party. But Alicia didn't show up for our next class, and I hadn't heard from her since our dinner. I started to wonder if asking her to review my book made her think I was crazy and someone to avoid at all costs. I thought about giving her a call, but I didn't want to seem too eager. 2 weeks later, she left me a message on my answering machine while I was out. Hello, Mark, this is Alicia. I'd like you to come over to my place for dinner Friday night. My son is visiting and staying with me for a few days, and I want you two to meet. I might have a surprise for you when you get here. So bring a bottle or 2 of that delicious white wine we enjoyed the other day and be here at 7. Call me back and let me know. Bye. On Friday night, I dressed comfortably but nicely and brought 2 bottles of Balthasar Riesling Cabinet Hattenheimer Schützenhaus 2012. I read in a local Orlando magazine that it was one of the best white wines of the year. Since I didn't know much about wine, I decided to trust the author. It paired well with lasagna, and I hoped it would go well with whatever Alicia was serving. "Hi, Mark, come on in." Alicia greeted me warmly as she showed me around her home. When we reached the patio, I saw a small table set for three with candles and wine glasses. A man emerged from between two orange trees and stepped into the light of the dinner table. "Mark, I'd like you to meet my son Barry." "Barry, this is Mark Jenkins." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Barry," I said as we shook hands. "Mom has said a lot of good things about you. She's impressed, and that's not easy to do." "Nice to meet you too, Barry. But whatever she told you is probably some of the fiction we come up with in our creative writing class. There's not much exciting about me." Alicia smiled and gestured towards the table. She took the wine bottles and placed them in a chiller as we sat down. When she finally joined us, she wore that big, beautiful smile again and took my hand. "Mark, I invited you here under false pretenses. We'll eat as soon as the wine chills. But first, I want to talk and share what I think is exciting news. It might be a surprise for you, hopefully a good one." I was incredibly curious, but at the same time, I felt quite nervous. "Mark, my son is here tonight to meet you because of something I did that you might not have approved of if I had asked you beforehand. But I went ahead and did it, and now it's too late to change. So if you're going to be upset, then go ahead and be upset. Here's what happened. I read your book in just 2 days, and it absolutely blew me away. Once I got halfway through, I couldn't put it down. It's the most inspiring and heart-wrenching story I've ever read. I cried at the end of the chapter where you moved in with your dad after your wife's revelation. I cried again at the part about your children. Mark, it's the most amazing book I've ever read, and I had to share it with my son. I sent it to him, and he read it. Normally he doesn't read books from unknown authors without being asked, but he did it for me. He loved it too, and wants to help you edit it so we can publish it. Isn't that fantastic?" I just sat there, looking at her while she smiled back at me. I didn't know what to say or do. I probably looked pretty foolish, but there was nothing I could do about it. When I glanced at Barry, he smiled back and continued where his mother left off. "Mom was right, Mr. Jenkins. This is the best first novel I've read, and I've seen a lot working at Prentice Press. I handle new authors' submissions, and each month we get about 100 books. I review them, then pass them to 2 other reviewers. If we all agree it's good, we help edit it and get it ready for publication. We want to publish your book. We'll talk details later, but for now, congratulations. It's a standout book, and it will be successful." I was shocked and speechless. Alicia just smiled, then kissed my forehead and went to prepare dinner. During dinner, we started talking about my book and sometimes got emotional. We ate mahi and peach cobbler while Barry explained the steps to publish the book, how it would be promoted, and how royalties work. I realized I wouldn't get rich from it. After Barry went to bed, my head was buzzing with everything we discussed. Alicia and I finished our wine outside in the cool night air, dreaming about being famous like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling. It was a nice dream, even though I knew it was just that, a dream. It was past midnight when I decided to head home. Alicia walked me to my car and gave me a deep kiss that reminded me I still had a lot of life left in me. I hadn't felt like this since Connie, which was bittersweet, but the excitement I felt driving home lifted my spirits. Over the next 3 months, I worked with an editor from Prentice Press to polish my manuscript. We coordinated through one in-person meeting and many emails and calls. The first step was moving my draft from MS Word to a more complex editing software. Once we finalized the manuscript, I received a printed galley overnight. I spent a whole weekend fine-tuning every detail, always finding small improvements, just as my editor predicted. I kept my day job at Folks Industries, but spent my nights working on the novel. Faye, always supportive, took care of me like a mother hen, making sure I stayed healthy and informed. Alicia visited on weekends to keep my creative energy flowing. My book came out on May 1st, and my contract required me to do a bunch of signings across the country, including in my hometown, Ellicott City, Maryland. That stop made me nervous. I took 3 weeks off work for the tour. Being an author sounds fancy, but it was exhausting. 28 days of flying or taking trains to different cities, short hotel stays, and non-stop signings where I talked to fans about the impact of my book. While I loved meeting people, the travel grind wore me down. Alicia surprised me by showing up at 2 signings, making the whole thing a lot more enjoyable. She played the shy fan, and I was the charming author. She stayed with me. The final stop was back home in Ellicott City. I had asked for it to be the last one, and luckily, they arranged it that way. I knew the bookstore well, just a few miles from where I grew up. The event ran from noon to 4. When I arrived, there was already a crowd gathered, including familiar faces like my old boss and his wife, waiting at a table with about 50 copies of my book under a big poster of me. I was overjoyed to see them and immediately hugged them. We exchanged contact information and planned to catch up over dinner. Their presence made me so happy that I almost forgot about the long line forming behind them. After signing their books and chatting briefly, I greeted everyone else with a smile and even posed for some photos. The event turned out to be more enjoyable than I had anticipated. About 30 minutes in, an old friend who had been distant at Connie's funeral approached me with my book. I signed it for him, and we warmly shook hands. He quietly apologized, saying he didn't understand until he read my book, then left. This scene repeated throughout the day with other old friends who also apologized for past wrongs, leaving me feeling grateful yet a bit awkward. The most intense moment was when Lenore Jablonski approached me looking uneasy. She apologized for our past troubles and shared that she had divorced John, who had caused so much pain, and was now engaged to someone else. She even admitted to spreading a rumor that I was seeking revenge, which had led John to move abroad. Uncertain how to respond at first, I finally signed her book with a message of peace and acknowledgement of her actions. We hugged briefly before she left. Even after the official end of the event, people were still lining up. Suddenly, I noticed Megan by the bookshelf, quietly watching. She didn't approach me, and by the time I finished with the last person in line, she was gone. The final person in line turned out to be Faye. We hugged and chatted as she drove me back to my hotel, which wasn't the Holiday Inn. During the ride, we talked about Alicia. Faye mentioned that she liked her and hoped I felt the same. When I admitted I was in love with Alicia, Faye cried on my shoulder. Right then, a police car pulled up with its lights flashing. Sergeant Greg stepped out and approached us. We caught up like old pals. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I gave him a copy of my book with a note about how much he had influenced my life. Greg had to leave for a call, and Faye and I went inside for dinner. The trip back home turned out to be less stressful than I had expected. The next surprise was seeing Megan at my door. Alicia and I had just been discussing the success of my book. It was third on the New York Times bestseller list. But seeing my daughter made everything else fade away. "Hi, Dad. How have you been?" Megan asked, sounding a bit embarrassed. "Hello, Megan. I'm fine. What brings you here?" I replied. "I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by to see how you're doing." "Megan, this neighborhood is 900 miles from yours." "That's quite a detour, isn't it?" I said. I felt Alicia's hand on my shoulder and turned to see her standing beside me. "Care to introduce me, Mark?" she said, her voice carrying a hint of authority. "Alicia, this is my daughter Megan." Alicia moved past me and gave Megan a warm hug. "Come on in. I've heard so much about you." The two women completely ignored me as they walked into the living room. They sat down and chatted animatedly for an hour, leaving me to tidy up the kitchen and attend to other household tasks. I passed by the living room a couple of times while cleaning, and they were deep in conversation, laughing together. Alicia admired Megan's children in the photos she showed her. "Honey, come join us out here," Alicia eventually called. I understood it as a command, so I went and sat next to her. She held my hand, more to keep me there than out of affection. Megan glanced down at our intertwined fingers. There was an awkward silence that seemed to stretch on. "All right, since you two aren't going to say anything, I will," Alicia said firmly. "Mark, I invited Megan here because she has something to say to you. I knew you wouldn't invite her, so I did. I understand this is your home, but if you want me to continue being a guest, you'll sit right here and listen to her." My eyes moved back and forth between Megan and Alicia. They had me surrounded, and not wanting to start another conflict, I settled back and braced myself. "Dad, I came here genuinely concerned about how you're doing," Megan began. "That part wasn't a lie. I also came to offer you an apology. Dad, I've been wrong about a lot of things, especially about you. I used to believe everything that happened to Mom, Stuart, and me was entirely your fault. I only saw part of the whole picture back then. It wasn't until I read your book that I understood things from your perspective. I felt so foolish after reading your words and realizing how much pain you went through. I didn't realize that despite being a grown woman with a family of my own, I still saw myself as your innocent little girl. I always saw Mom as a saint, even after the terrible things she did to you. You always seemed strong and unaffected by everything, but now I see that was a shield to protect your feelings. Mom broke through that shield and hurt you more than I ever knew. I thought if you could just be strong with her, forgive her and come back home, everything would be fine. What I didn't understand was that you were strong enough to step away from someone you loved for over 25 years to protect all of us from her mistakes." Alicia looked at me expectantly, waiting for my response. I decided to delay my answer while I thought it over. "What about Stuart?" I asked Megan. "How does he feel about me? Did he know you were coming here?" "Stuart's not great. Mom's actions hurt him the most. After Lori caught him cheating and divorced him, he moved to California and got into a wild lifestyle. He's been jumping from one girlfriend to another. I heard he even got into trouble with a married woman's husband and had to leave town. Stuart still believes cheating is no big deal. He doesn't know I'm here, and I don't care what he thinks." Well, Megan's outburst didn't leave me much time to decide what to do next, so I chose to postpone again. "Megan, what are your plans now? Are you staying in town? Do you have a place to stay?" "I'm staying with Faye. She wanted me to see her new condo, so I'll be there for a couple of days before heading home. Here's what I'll do. I'll think over everything you said today and let you know my decision. That's the best I can offer right now. Dad, honestly, I didn't expect even that much." "Thank you. I'll head over to Faye's now. Alicia, it was nice to finally meet you. I hope we can see each other again soon. Take good care of my dad for me." Megan left as suddenly as she came. I had a lot to mull over, but this time I had Alicia by my side, guiding me away from making any rash decisions. After our Caribbean cruise, a reward from Prentice Press for Fairweather Friends, topping the New York Times bestseller list, Alicia and I flew to Maryland. This trip was special because it allowed me to meet my 2 grandchildren, ages 2 and 4, and introduce Alicia to my hometown. During the visit, Alicia, already a grandparent, helped navigate some challenging moments. The trip's highlight was during a family dinner with Megan when I announced our engagement, a decision made during the cruise. Faye is already planning the wedding, and will soon visit Alicia's children to share our news, diverging from youthful dreams to a reality filled with love and second chances. After 25 years with Connie, I look forward to another wonderful chapter with Alicia, possibly inspiring another book. Second story. Need advice? Found girl's phone number on my man's phone. My partner cheated on me before, and although we broke up briefly, we decided to give our relationship another chance. Recently, I had a feeling to check his phone and discovered new numbers. He's also been chatting again with the girl he cheated with in the past. I want to message the new number to find out who she is before deciding to finally break up with him. However, I'm unsure how to approach this. For reference, he has her name stored under neighbor, but we don't have any neighbors by that name. Please help me figure out how to get the facts before confronting my boyfriend, who will soon be my ex.